Good evening, Pandit. May I suggest that can you just please explain what's the meaning of five hindrances? That's all. That's one question.
Okay. So in cultivation of Samma Samadhi, to successfully develop Samadhi, we have to overcome the five hindrances. That's the hindrance of sensual desire, the hindrance of ill will, the hindrance of sloth, torpor, drowsiness, the hindrance of restlessness and agitation, and the hindrance of skeptical doubt. So these are like, they say, like five robbers that rob us of our happiness and peace of mind and samadhi. So they're hindrances. When they come up, it's difficult to concentrate, difficult to establish mindfulness. Each of these five hindrances has their own draw on the mind. They draw the mind into them. So we've become caught up in desire or anger or sleepiness or agitation and anxiety or doubt. So they block our progress in doing good. Really, they come up at any time, whether you're just practicing dana or sila or going about your business or meditating, they will come up. And a lot of our effort in the practice is to understand and recognize hindrances and then to find skillful ways to let them go so that the mind can develop samadhi, one-pointedness.
Like to now please invite Okita to please start a video and unmute.
Good evening, Bhante. Thank you again for a very insightful talk. I think you mentioned, spoke a while ago about how when we listen to talks, it gives us joy. I just wanted to say, listening to today's gave me a lot of joy and hope about my practice and just, I guess, just it's a positive feeling overall. So thank you for that. My question is around metta bhavana and I guess around sort of when usually I think the instructions are when you start with developing sort of a really loving feeling towards yourself and then other people that are close to you. I often think of my parents who have passed away and feel a lot of gratitude and love for them, but I wasn't sure if it was sort of beneficial to focus on people who have passed away when we practice metta bhavana, or is it better to sort of think about people who are currently living and give thanks and develop that feeling towards them? Thank you.
Right. Well, in regards to people who passed away, of course, there are appropriate times to think of them with maybe gratitude and remember the things they've said and done that have been helped us and the goodness of their lives. The reason we sometimes say it's more appropriate to just share merits with the dead rather than spread metta is because you don't know where they are. And they may well already have been reborn and they don't need our merit as such. So, or spreading metta, they won't necessarily reach them because we no longer know them and know where they are and they've changed the realm that they live in. But you can share merit with them. And so, they're very closely related, these two thoughts, the thought of spreading metta or the thought of dedicating or sharing merit. They're very close. But it's just acknowledging that if somebody has died, they may no longer receive your metta as such. If you're sitting there spreading metta, it may not reach them, but you can certainly honor and remember them and dedicate merits. So if you are sitting there spreading metta, you can then dedicate the merit of that act of spreading metta to your parents who passed away.
There is a typed question on the Google form, and let me read it. This person says that my Francis license is with poultry industrial. meaning a company who imports antibiotics, etc., for centralized poultry farming. Is this breaking the killing precepts? Thank you.
So the person's job is importing antibiotics, am I right? It's not actually doing the farming themselves?
This person is a pharmacist, and I suppose his or her job, because as a pharmacist with a license, it's with the poultry industry, and the company imports antibiotics, and that the antibiotics is to be used for centralized poultry farming.
Right.
So I get that that's what it is, or this is
Yeah.
as short if the question is.
Yeah. Well, I would say if you're very clear, your aim is to manufacture and sell pharmaceutical products. Your aim is not to kill. I mean, pharmaceutical products, antibiotics are for actually good health, I would assume. It's not. So your intention is not to kill. The farmer or the poultry company people, their intention is to raise poultry for killing, for selling for meat. But your intention can still be just to sell pharmaceutical products, and what they go on and do with them, even though you know them, what they're going to do. But that's their intention, it's not your intention. And you can be clear on that, that you're not out to kill anything. You're just doing a job selling pharmaceutical products. That may be the way you have to go. If that's your job and you need to earn a living and maybe support a family, I would think of it in that way. You know, a bit like the lady in the time of the Buddha whose husband was a hunter, and he went out every day hunting, killing, and she would give him a packed lunch and also clean up his bow and arrow and his sword, clean up his tools and hand them to him, to the husband with the packed lunch, and send him off to work. And at one point, the Buddha praised this lady as a sotapanna. And that aroused a lot of doubt in the mind of Buddhists, because they said, well, hold on, this woman's husband makes his living killing animals and she supports that and supports him. How can she be a sotapanna? Because a sotapanna doesn't break the first precept. They have metta and they don't harm other living creatures. And so the Buddha questioned her and said, well, what are you doing and what's your intention? She said, my intention is just to be a good partner to my husband, do my duty well, and support the family, run the household, and I do that the best I can mindfully with a wholesome state of mind. And she was clear that she had no intention to kill. That was her husband's job. And the Buddha said, yeah, this is possible, you can live like that. And he said she was a sotapanna. So it is obviously if you're mixing with an industry that involves a lot of killing, well, you have to really consider your intention and what's going on there. I don't know all the details of your job, but I would look at it in that way. Just try and do the good job you're doing in the pharmaceutical company, and if another company is buying your products and using them and then they're going on to kill chickens, well, that's their karma. So try to separate this in your mind. And obviously keep the 5 precepts if you can, and you're not someone yourself who kills chickens or whatever. Just keep that intention not to kill foremost in your mind.
Are there any more questions from the floor? Yes. Jaslyn?
Thank you, Longpo, for all your Dhamma talk and also the previous questions that I asked you. Today, Longpo, I like to ask Longpo a question. When Longpo just says that if you have time to breathe, you have time to meditate. I actually contemplated for quite a long time, and this recently, or more or less now, there is residue inside. Does it, when Longpo says that, Longpo translates that, does it mean that when we have time to breathe means we have time to go into meditation, into samadhi, or into the purification of the mind? And he says, if you have time to meditate, if you have time to breathe, you have time to meditate. Thank you, Longpo. Is that right, Longpo?
Yeah, well, it's true, isn't it? If you have time to breathe, which you do, you have time to practice mindfulness. But having said that, it doesn't mean to say in every situation it's appropriate to enter a deep state of samadhi by focusing on your breath. If you're working or doing some activity that involves walking and talking and doing different things, you may, if you're well practiced, follow the breath as you're doing that. But for most people, they'll find that too difficult. But you can certainly practice mindfulness as you do any activity. So you can be mindful of your precepts. You can be mindful of feelings and thoughts arising, passing away. Periodically, you may be able to return to the breath and be mindful of the breath, but say when you're talking, you can't focus on the breath, but you become mindful of your speech, your intention, whether it's wholesome or not, the words you're choosing, the situation. There'll be a few different things you can be mindful of. And you're practicing right effort at that time, whether you're actually doing formal meditation or you're working or you're relaxing with friends, you practice right effort as well. That's the effort to abandon unskillful states of mind that might be arising or even prevent them from arising. And then the effort to bring up skillful states of mind and maintain and develop them. So these different aspects of the path, there's always an opportunity to develop them at any moment of our life. And like Lumpur says, if you can breathe, you can meditate, but it has to be qualified by exactly what aspect of meditation or what aspect of the path is appropriate at that time. So it doesn't always mean you can just sit down, close your eyes and watch your breath. Sometimes we can do that, but sometimes it means practicing mindfulness in a slightly different way, but still developing mindfulness.
Are there any more questions on the floor? So, Lumpur, I am reading out a question from Tik Hong from Malaysia, who's unable to ask you in person. So the question is, how to overcome restlessness during meditation?
Well, one thing, maybe just accept it. Restlessness has its own causes and conditions from the past. So first of all, just accept it. Sometimes my mind is restless. I'll just accept that. I won't create any more stress or suffering out of that fact. I'll know it. Oh, at the moment I'm restless. Accept that. And then work on trying to establish whatever level of mindful awareness you can in the midst of your restless mind. So there's different things that can help. One is just to develop some patience and endurance with the restlessness of the mind. And you might find sitting still, or if you're walking meditation, keep up the walking for a period of time. If you're sitting, keep up the sitting for a period of time, and stick with what task, what length of time you've decided you're going to sit or walk. Stick with it. And you might find the repeated effort of sitting, not getting up, not giving up, or walking, not giving up, in its own way, even though you haven't yet established full mindfulness, but you might find it helps your mind to settle down over time if you stick with it. So you need patience, you need determination, you need effort. And sometimes all you can do is just watch the restless mind until it changes by itself, because all mental formations arise and cease. And really you're developing that awareness to be able to see them arise and cease, to have enough detached awareness that your mind is kind of as if going to a slightly higher place, looking back at itself and saying, okay, I'm restless, I'm agitated, how long will this last? I'm just going to watch and see how long it will last. And often it disappears quite quickly after that, because you've established that understanding that you've been caught into restlessness, but now you're just going to watch it as a mental state rather than get involved with it or react to it with aversion or whatever. You're just knowing, oh, I'm restless, I'm going to watch this, I'm going to learn from this. Of course, sometimes our restlessness has particular causes that you may also investigate. So you notice, if you meditate before you've got another thing that you have to do, you have an appointment or something that you need to do later in your program, your schedule, your day, often that triggers restlessness because you're sitting trying to watch your breath, but you keep thinking about what you've got to do next. So try and clear that up before you even begin meditation. Try not to do your meditation just before you're going to do something else, maybe. Or if you still have other things to do in your day, talk to yourself first as you begin your meditation. Say, okay, I do have these other things for today that I must do, but for this period, I'm just going to let it go. It doesn't matter. I don't have to plan or predict what's going to happen. I'll just let it go for this period of time. So you educate yourself at that moment to let go, because you know it might be a problem as you meditate. Or you could be restless over something that's already happened. And we often do get agitated over things we've said and done, events in our day, things that have bothered us, things that have affected us in one way or another. They'll come up as you meditate. So again, you may have to have a conversation with yourself, particularly maybe just before you start meditating, and say, okay, I know I have this habit of holding on to things that have happened, bringing them up, and they agitate me, they fill my mind. I've seen it before maybe, so I'm going to remind myself, I just let it go, I let it be. I'm not going to get involved with those memories and those issues. This is not the time to worry about them or analyze them. I'm just going to observe the agitation of mind and let it go. I'm not going to get involved in the details of it all. So you might prepare yourself that way to meet with restlessness, because you may find that's a regular occurrence for you in your meditations. You already have prepared yourself a bit for meeting with it. So patience, endurance, mindfulness, of course, and just watch it. Restlessness is just another hindrance, another mental state. It doesn't really belong to anyone. It just comes through its causes and passes away, and try and establish that awareness.
Are there any more questions from the floor? There is one question, Paul. The question is, what is the difference between how someone feels the emotions of love as against the definition of metta? Is there a difference between how the human nature of love as well as the Buddha's teachings on metta?
Well, strictly speaking, because we're what we call sensual beings in a sensual realm, until our mind is sort of developed on the path, our love and expressions of love tend to be mixed with a bit of sensuality. Not always, but a lot of the time. So when I say sensuality, we easily get caught up in desires and attachments with our love. And that means often you love somebody, but you're also attaching to the good feeling you get from loving them, the warmth, the attachment, the closeness. It's kind of mixed up with certain mental impurities, mental defilements. It's not necessarily all bad, but these mental defilements will creep in. So the Buddha was encouraging us to develop metta as a meditation object. So learning to develop mindfulness, one-pointedness of mind on the object of goodwill, to the point where there's no sensual desire coming into it, no attachment coming into it, and there's no kind of sense of, I'm loving you and I want this in return. You're not seeking anything in return. You're seeing, you're developing this one-pointed state, which is just pure metta, and that's why you can develop the thought metta for all beings, because when your mind is truly one-pointed on metta, it can be displayed and sent in all directions to all beings, and it cuts through all the differences and the likes and dislikes and the attachments and the prejudices. So it's possible to have metta for everybody if your mind is one-pointed on it. But if it hasn't reached one-pointedness, well, sensuality and the attachments will tend to slip in, at least partially or from time to time. So you have to keep working on it. And you have to keep investigating as well. You know, reflect on the metta you practice and see whether sometimes it is a cause for attachment. You know, the Buddha said you have metta, but then it can, with sensuality, you can start to attach to the person you have metta for, so it starts to become a more sensual kind of love. You actually start to love or want that person in a more sensual way. Or sometimes it can lead to disappointment if our metta is not yet strong, and our mind is not firm in its metta. Well, you have metta for someone, and then they don't do what you want, or they don't act, or they don't reciprocate, or they're not grateful, or whatever, and then your metta can turn into disappointment. But when the mind is one-pointed on the object of metta, there's no chance of disappointment or falling in love or attaching to the person. It's a very pure state of mind, and that's what you're aiming for. So like any other meditation practice, you're improving your level of mindfulness and your ability to focus the mind on the object to the point where no sensuality or attachment can creep in, and it can't turn to disappointment either. It's just a very strong, clear, pure thought of metta. That's what you're aiming for.
May I please invite Dr. STD to unmute?
Ante, thank you so much for your talk on merit, making merit. A thought just crossed my mind regarding, the activities that you've listed that will generate merit so that you can share it and transfer it. Whilst we are engaged in these activities, should it be something that we do spontaneously without the thought of generating merit? Whatever it is, whatever that activity is. When we do Dhamma, do we do it with an open heart without wanting, as it were, to generate merit or to get anything in return? A little bit like the last question on loving kindness, on metta, that whatever that we do, we are not thinking in terms of the returns. In other words, we have no aim of actually wanting to generate merit. That if merit is generated, it comes spontaneously. I wonder whether Bhante could comment on that.
Yes, of course, as you practice more, then merit in all its different forms becomes more spontaneous, more automatic. So you notice if your mind becomes more calm and peaceful, you're more mindful, there's less negativity in the mind because of the practice you've been doing. It can be very spontaneous. You just notice good things in people or the world around you without even trying. You can rejoice in the good other people are doing quite automatically. So definitely you do experience that. Say for this, one of the rewards, the Buddha said the rewards of making merit, all these different kinds of merit, is one, it all contributes to the development of the state of the Sotapanna, the stream enterer, one whose faith in Buddha Dhamma Sangha is established, and they've let go of self-view, attachment to self-view, and so on. And the Sotapanna has abandoned all stinginess and possessiveness from their mind, so they're quite automatically generous. So you know that's a quality that will develop through your practice. So like Buddhist monks, we have a rule that we're not allowed to bother somebody who's considered to be a Sotapanna asking with request for alms and support, because they will tend to just give. They'll tend to just respond to requests for help and support quite automatically, because that's the way their minds become. They've let go of a lot of their attachment, possessiveness, stinginess. So we have a rule to protect us from unwittingly exploiting that in the lay community. We're not allowed to bother them or nag them for things, because they'll give if they're a Sotapanna. So we have to be careful, and you see that as you become more used to making merit and developing merit, it becomes naturally part of who you are. And you still have your personality and whatever, but there'll be certain qualities that become very normal for you, say to keep sila, to practice generosity, to be helpful, to respect the Dhamma, listen to Dhamma, share the Dhamma, and to share merit. It becomes quite normal for you. So you're right, it will become more spontaneous, and that's even fun. You know, the mind suddenly wakes up to some good that's in you, it can be in you or in someone else. Without thinking about it, just the awareness of the mind picks up on something.
Thank you.
There's a chat-written question, and without knowing how this person does his or her meditation, I'm just attempting to ask a question, which is, Longford, what methods or approaches might you suggest to overcome drowsiness or sleepiness of the mind?
Drowsiness.
Thank you. Drowsiness.
Drowsiness. Oh. Open your eyes. If you're sitting meditation, falling asleep, open your eyes, draw in some light. That will help wake you up. You know, there's the traditional methods of waking yourself up to establish mindfulness. So the Buddha said maybe get up and do walking meditation, pull your ears, go outside, look at the stars. So like here in Melbourne tonight, if you go outside, it's quite cool. So you go out, look at the stars, you'll really wake up because of the cold air. Wash your face, recite Dhamma, chanting and recitation can help wake you up and establish mindfulness where before you were sleepy. Ajahn Chah had a few creative ones. He said if you're walking meditation, you're still sleepy, then walk backwards. And the fear of bumping into things will keep you awake. Or there was one monk in Ajahn Chah's monastery who was always falling asleep, and his friends asked Ajahn Chah, what should we do about him? He's always sitting, falling asleep in his meditation. Ajahn Chah said, go and catch a cobra and throw it into his hut with him, and he won't fall asleep then. So you need to find things that will wake you up. Even if you don't have a handy cobra, maybe you could do something else that just wakes you up. So sometimes people, one monk I knew, he used to sit on a little platform on a couple of bricks so that if he started to become sleepy and rocking, he would fall off this platform and that would wake him up. Or another monk I knew, he used to have a little paper cup, just like 1 inch high, and he'd fill it with water and put it on his head. And so if he started to nod and fall asleep, he'd get wet. And he said after getting wet a few times, he didn't want to fall asleep anymore. Or another monk was really strict. He said, if I fall asleep during my meditation, I won't eat for that day. I'll just fast. And so he said the desire for food means you stay awake because you don't want to miss your meal. So you have to be very disciplined to do that. So the idea is to find ways to really make effort in your practice, bring up the effort to stay awake, stay mindful, put effort into it. But the Buddha did give us one allowance. He said if you're meditating and you're really exhausted and falling asleep, well, maybe the best thing is to go and have a sleep and get a good rest so that then when you wake up, you can meditate having had a good rest. So you also have to consider the situation, how you feel, what's been going on. And occasionally you have to accept, I'm just too tired to meditate, I'll go and rest, and I'll do some more meditation later.
Thank you, Uncle. Uncle, I'm conscious that it is 9:30 over at Melbourne. There are no more questions on the floor. Would you like to call in the mic and have a rest?
Okay, we can finish the session here. So thank you for listening, participating, and we'll see you next time. And we'll just pay respects to the Triple Gem.
Before you go, would you like to announce that of Easter retreat so that people could look at?
Okay, yes, there will be an Easter retreat this year, online, Zoom. So that will be Good Friday, Saturday and Easter Sunday. 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2nd, 3rd, 4th of April. More details later, so watch this space and you'll see a poster and an invitation to join that retreat. Everyone is welcome. Whichever corner of the world you're in, I'm sure we can fit you in somewhere on our retreat, so you're all welcome. Whatever country you're in, you're welcome to join in a meditation retreat over Easter. So thank you, and we'll just pay respects to the Triple Gem.